to create one of the biggest jewelry chains in the world.
Somebody said that we dragged this industry into the 20th century. Probably true. It was a very conservative industry where you had bars on the windows and managers in three-piece suits and very expensive purchases. And we really took the mystique out of selling jewellery. We said you don't need the chandeliers or the velvet pads. If you offer new fashionable jewellery at low prices, that'll work. And a lot of people are upset that we've broken this nice little club that they had. So we haven't won a lot of friends from the other jewellers.
Competitive advantage isn't something abstract or theoretical. It's very basic. If a company is going to have superior performance, it's got to have either lower cost or it's got to be unique. If it's going to be lower cost, it's got to be lower cost because it can do things more efficiently. If it's going to be unique, it's going to be unique because it can do things better. Now, that's not something that's unconnected to the organization. If a company has lower costs, it's because everybody in the organization is behaving in a way that leads to lower cost. If a company is differentiated, it's because everybody in the organization is behaving in a way that leads to superior performance or service or quality. Therefore, really the first step in competitive advantage, once you decide what you want, is to communicate that to the organization. Everybody in a company has got to understand what the advantage is supposed to be, because they have to behave accordingly.
Want you to go for a ride in the boat, Joe?
They've got to come through here.
You should have come earlier.
Who wants to go for a ride?
They went earlier. Oh, here it is.
That's the one. Oh, there you go. Look at that. Here's the boat.
Every year, Gerald Ratner throws a party at this riverside home for his area managers. It's his way of thanking them for their part in Ratner's rocketing profitability. This year alone, sales are up 19%.
I thought everybody knew where you were going. How long did it take you? What's happened to your leg?
Oh, nothing. I'm seasick.
Oh, right.
Ratner's is one of the major entrepreneurial successes of the 1980s, a fact that's largely due to Gerald Ratner's management skills and strategic thinking.
Did you see Bolter's lot pub? Yeah, that's nice, pub. Skindles, that's what you go for years. And you've got those fantastic restaurant up that way, it's most incredible. It's too expensive.
But even the most inspired management can't work without a high degree of motivation throughout the company. What's Ratner's secret?
Money. Simple as that.
And how does it work?
They get a basic wage. They have a bonus which is related to turnover, to increases in turnover. So that if they show increases in turnover, then they get a bonus related to that. So that the higher the increase in turnover, the bigger the bonus. And it's all bonus-led. And they respond to that.
Doesn't this lead to a situation where sales staff are tearing the arms off customers before they let them out of the shop?
Well, I wouldn't quite put it that way, but they're a very determined sales force, yes. We've had no broken bones, there's been no blood on the carpet, but they're a very determined sales force, yeah.
In 1983, Ratner had 140 retail outlets. That year, the company made a loss of £350,000. The group now has about 750 outlets, and profits have soared to £121.5 million. Such meteoric success has earned Gerald Ratner few friends in the trade. He's accused of bringing a street trader's mentality to a business which prided itself on its high-class exclusivity.
I used to work in the markets. I mean, I'm not on the selling side now. I wish I was so nice. I love to sell. But from the market point of view, I mean, you're trying to grab the attention of the hunter all the time. And that's what the Ratners people try and do. I I'm sure if they could, if Gerald would allow it, they'll stick a few stalls outside the shop itself. It's what gets the customers in. I mean, I think that's one of the main reasons why. I mean, Gerald's always said it. I mean, they may not look the best shops in the world. You can hardly see the stock through the window sometimes with so many stickers on there. But it's what attracts the punter. And it's the same on, I mean, it's the market stall mentality, you know. You're piling behind, you're screaming out loud, let them know what you've got to sell. OK, we haven't got people out in the shop screaming at punters, but you've got it in the signs of the window, and that's bringing the punters in.
Ratner's great success has been to extend jewellery buying into a whole new social class. Young people now buy jewellery on impulse, as a fashion item, rather than as a once-in-a-lifetime investment. The technique is brutally simple, a drastic reduction of price sustained by high-volume turnover. It shattered the old image of jewellery forever.
When academics talk about competitive advantage, they usually refer to examples of past successes. Managers have to take that step out into the unknown, and that's what Gerald Ratner did. He identified a new segment of the business and redefined the rules of the game in the retail jewellery trade. He saw that there was an opportunity for driving a wedge in between the traditional precious jewellery and the very cheap costume jewellery, and taking gold jewellery into the sort of £20 purchase item area, which appealed to a whole new group of young consumers. And that thing took off, and it turned the chain round.
Tracy Shirley also works for Ratner's. She not only sells this kind of jewellery, she can afford to buy it too. As one of the largest buyers of gold in the world, Ratner's can sell jewellery at a price she and her friends can afford. London's Hippodrome. This is the market that Ratner's has so successfully exploited. Jewellery, like everything else, must keep pace with today's endless search for novelty. Ratner's now have 31% of the jewellery market. Increasingly, Gerald sees his competitors as the big high street stores, Marks and Spencer's, Woolworths, C&A's. And in this fight, nothing is sacrosanct.
One of the hottest lines that we had in the 80s was, of course, the Princess Diana ring. We were absolutely desperate to know what sort of style she was going to get for her engagement so we could copy it. And I remember we waited till about 11 o'clock at night to get a copy of the newspaper where we heard there was going to be a picture of it. We rushed the picture straight round to our supplier, who was standing by with all his workmen. And we worked right through the night copying this ring. I remember it was a sapphire, oval-shaped sapphire with 14 diamonds around it. We had to obviously have the right amount of diamonds. Quite a straightforward ring to copy. And we worked for 4 days, 24 hours a day, and we got it out. I remember it was a Friday afternoon, we got it into the shops. That Saturday we sold 10,000 pieces.
This ring, valued at over £30,000, which did so much to enhance the fairy tale image of the princess-to-be, was pirated by Ratner's and sold at £28.50. For traditional jewellers, it seemed as if death was knocking at the gate.
Yes, please. I've seen a brooch in the window, diamonds with a pearl in the middle.
Right.
And I'd like to see it.
Fine. Do you want to show it to me? And
Yes.
let's just pop outside.
Richard Ogden, a well-established jeweller in London's West End.
So it's that one
And
over
that's the one
there.
there. Fine, lovely. Do come in, please.
Upmarket jewellers may dislike Ratner's brash approach, but it's possible that the recent expansion of the whole jewellery business owes something to Ratner's success. Here, the emphasis is not on the new, but the antique.
Can I put my glasses on?
Of course you may, certainly. And that's Victorian. It's around about 1880. It's mounted in silver and gold backed. It's centre natural pearl, and so you can wear it either as a pendant Or as a brooch.
Or as a brooch.
So it's dual purpose, basically.
Really lovely. What did you say, 4,500?
4,950.
950.
We did a survey and we asked a lot of people what they look for more than anything else, and it's actually the word new. So we try and bring in new products as quickly as possible and let everybody know that they are new. I mean, Marks and Spencer's do it on their food, so why can't we do it with our jewellery?
Fergus Nicholson has been managing Ratner's shop since he was 19. Having opened up a new youth market, Ratner's ensure it's served by people who are themselves young. Everything's done to shed the intimidating atmosphere of old-style jewellers. Items are clearly priced. Every sale is immediately replaced, and if necessary, the shop restocked overnight.
Yeah, nice what's really going to hair down when you're going to be wearing them. They always do that quite a bit. They're quite nice.
I think in the old days, young people, teenagers, wouldn't go into a jewellery shop. They were in fact terrified of going to a jewellery shop because they felt that they couldn't afford it. It was a province of the rich and the older people. Nowadays, you can get a girl of 13 or 14 walking down the high street on a Saturday afternoon, and she'll buy herself a belt, she'll buy a pair of shoes, and she'd come back home to her parents' house with a pair of real gold earrings. Now, that was unheard of in the old days, that they would actually buy real jewellery on a Saturday afternoon on an impulse basis. And we sell gold earrings from 99 pence. So it's not difficult for her to do that. And I think that we're attracting people to collect jewellery at an early age. And they collect jewellery rather the way they collect stamps. It's a similar thing today.
Prices are ruthlessly cut to a level affordable even by customers as young as this.
Is that all right, yeah? See if we can do it now for you.
We reduce the best sellers because that way it's going to increase our sales dramatically. If you reduce the price of something that sells 400 a year, you could perhaps only increase sales to 500 a year. But if you reduce something that sells 50,000 a year, you're going to get a lot more sales. So that's the philosophy, that we'd rather reduce the best-selling lines. And the way that we can do that is very simply because we buy so much of that particular line. We can negotiate bigger discounts and work with our manufacturers to get better production runs, which are faster.
The risk for Ratners, I suppose, is that they try to stick to the same success pattern for too long. This pilot high, sell 'em cheap philosophy may run out of speed, just as it did in grocery retailing for Tesco's. Somebody else could come along and take the high ground, the higher priced segments, away from them. They perhaps need to adapt and be very careful about moving up range, especially if they want to achieve a 50% market share.
Gerald Ratner took over as chairman from his father in 1984. By 1985, Ratner's was already over £2 million in profit. Gerald's formula seemed to be working. The next move was to take it up market.
Probably the best acquisition that we ever did was H. Samuel. £150 million sounds a hell of a lot, but when you consider that most of their shops were freeholds. We could have sat on those freeholds. Nothing would have been easier. Would have been made for life. But we didn't want to take the soft option. Instead, we had a program of unloading those freeholds over the next few years. And with the money that we raised, we invested straight back in the business. So however good the investment would have been on the freeholds, which would have been great, we feel what we did with the money was a better bet.
Having gained a competitive advantage, it's important to protect it. Buying 375 H. Samuel shops was not just a way of moving Ratner's up market. It was a way of preventing H. Samuel's from moving down market into Ratner's territory.
Old rubbish. So the sales went down when it became a sell-off shop? Oh yeah, the sales went down.
In November 1988, Ratner's moved up market again. they bought Zales, a quality jeweller dealing in all the most prestigious brand names. In 1990, profits for the whole Ratner Group jumped to a staggering £121,488,000. Ratner's has an exceptionally clear vision of its objectives. The aim is to sell. So managers have no initiative in deciding the layout of their shops. Instead, shop windows are identical, based on photographs taken at a mock shop at head office.
What we don't want to see, which we've seen in previous acquisitions that we made in the early stages, is that the manager is sitting in an office in the back of the shop doing all the bookwork and customers are walking out the door. So the priority is serving the customer.
Ratner's competition within the jewellery trade is increasingly fragmented. 50% of Gerald's competitors are small traders. In 6 years, Gerald Ratner has pulled his company around to a position which dominates the business. The key is high volume turnover. This is helped by the wholesale importation of supermarket techniques, particularly the electronic point of sale system for recording sales. It seems demand depends upon supply.
We took over a company about 3 or 4 years ago, and their best shop was in Uxbridge. And we couldn't understand why their best shop was in Uxbridge, because that wasn't the best town that they were in. And it was because their distribution centre was above the shop. They weren't on any computers, but every time they sold anything, the girl would walk upstairs, take the stock, and put it back in the window. So the shop always was perfect, always full of stock. And this is something that we try and recreate now right across the country. Hi, how are we doing at the moment today? Is that today's sales figures?
Yeah, we're 30% off on like-for-like from last year.
Where's that, in Ratner's or Zales?
That's, Ratner's is 32.2 and Zales is 34.7.
Oh, good. So Zales is doing very well today. That was even better than yesterday. That's good news.
An EPOS, electronic point of sale system, links from the cash register all the way back through the chain of the product you have on the shelves in the store to the orders you're placing on your suppliers. And if you can afford to build up that sort of system, then you can be much more efficient in the way in which you deliver the product. For every pound of sales, you need less inventory in the system because you're very quick in the way you respond to demand at the cash register and trigger that back through the stocks you're holding into the orders you're placing on suppliers. A small jeweller cannot do that. There's no way that a small jeweller can do that. A large group can afford to make the investment and produce a level of service that, again, nobody can compete with within that trade. In the short term, people are trading and there's an ebb and flow and people gain advantages from tactical moves. We think of a new marketing campaign or a new product wrinkle. The thing that's difficult is achieving an advantage that can't be copied. And that needs to be rooted in the structure of the business. Scale is often something that's helpful here. As a result of what Ratner's has done, they're now probably the largest buyer of diamonds in the world. They're certainly one of the largest buyers of gold. And they're able, through that, to achieve a buying cost which nobody else can duplicate. If one of the other jewelers tried to copy that now, they simply couldn't do it because they don't have the scale.
Every year, senior executives from Ratner's come to Italy. There are design ideas to be picked up at the trade fairs, and Italian factories are their largest single suppliers.
It's a combination of two reasons, design and technology. They're market leaders in both. The French are extremely good at design, but they don't have the technology to go with it. The Germans are very good at technology, but the designs are not suitable for the UK, and their goods generally are very expensive.
So there we shall make earrings?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Now these are hollow.
Correct.
It's great. They're going to look absolutely wonderful. I mean, all the twisted designs you've got here, are absolutely perfect. It's just a matter of us bringing them down to the right weight so that we can put them in for the right price. But I've got to reiterate, we've got to maintain the distinctiveness of the colours, because they're so strong here, and once we put them under the shop lights, they look absolutely wonderful.
This is the trade fair at Vicenza in North Italy. Victor Ratner is scouting for ideas.
See the links. Forget the diamond clasp.
Ratner's special alchemy will transform such fabulously expensive pieces into low-price fashion items for the UK.
Yeah. There's over 5,000 different gold manufacturers in Italy. All of them are coming up with different designs. And what we do is that we'll be looking to see what's new on the market. And very often we need to adapt that to suit our needs in the UK.
Italian manufacturing techniques are designed to produce the strength and durability necessary for utility items. The emphasis has shifted from delicate craftsmanship to mass production. Here, links are laser welded, making them almost unbreakable. Above all, Ratners economized by making their gold jewelry hollow. Bulk buying of raw materials, made possible by high turnover, also keeps prices low.
The seahorse in the centre. You can take the example of our loose stone buying in diamonds. We go direct to the polishers in Antwerp, in Tel Aviv, in Bombay, whereas an independent jeweller, his diamonds may have gone through 5 or 6 pairs of hands before it actually reaches his window. Now, we're able to do this because we combine with our American colleagues, and together we are the biggest purchasers of diamonds in the world. We're able to buy complete parcels of stones. As soon as you start picking and choosing particular sizes of diamonds, you have to start paying a premium for that. We're able to buy complete parcels. The only reason that we need to reject stones is on grounds of quality.
The British haven't yet acquired the habit of buying diamond jewellery on a significant scale. Diamonds still have the fairy tale mystique of a once-in-a-lifetime purchase. This is a new challenge for Ratners, who hope to create a market for diamonds in the UK, similar to the one which exists in the United States.
In the States, we find our business there. You go across there, and everybody you meet, they say, hi, how do you do? All the women, show you this great big rock on their hand. Here, very, very few women do own diamonds. Now, this we see as another big opportunity for ourselves. We can get a lot more diamond ownership by stressing value once more, the same way we've done on gold. Diamonds really aren't expensive, and they're beautiful things to own.
Well done, Georgia. You must be sort of relieved now that you can relax. It's been fabulous, isn't it? Great. Very much great. Pleasure.
Gerald's guests taking their leave. These managers are the shock troops who maintain Ratner's competitive advantage. Whatever the potential of the company, these people carry it into effect.
Will you be top area manager next year?
The big question for Ratners now is, can they build on their present success? As chairman, Gerald Ratner sees his task as extending the group's competitive advantage into new areas.
2 or 3 years ago, I saw that we could run out of steam in the UK, perhaps when we reached 50% of the market. Currently got 31%. At the time when I was having that thought, we had about 17%. So, although that would mean tremendous profits for the company and continued growth in the shops, I think every business needs new challenges, new expansions. So I thought on one hand, should we diversify, go into another product, which perhaps we didn't know about, or go to another country, which is really like diversifying, even though if you're staying in your same industry. And I felt that on balance, we should stay in our own industry and go to the States, and that's what we did.
Throw the glass back.